we do have our guest with us. And so joining us now, Brett Bonner. He's, of course, former host on KGMI, our sister station, and currently works in private industry, but is involved in politics via the Whatcom Information Center, a political action committee founded by a number of folks last spring during the bus tax campaign. And first of all, welcome to the show, Brett.
Thank you very much, Joe, and sorry about the phone communication. Those cell phone commercials where the one company claims that they don't drop calls?
That's the one you have?
They're lying.
Yeah, exactly. I hear that. Well, thanks for being with us today. And did I get all the facts right? The Whatcom Information Center, you folks really put this together during the campaign for the bus tax increase last spring.
Yeah, in general, that's correct, yes.
Okay. And, well, first of all, tell us about the Whatcom Information Center. What is your aim?
Well, we're a nonpartisan, nonprofit group, and essentially we kind of serve as a watchdog to government in a sense. We're in support of individual rights, individual freedoms. We are not anti-tax necessarily. We're anti-certain taxes. We also would like to promote business and look at progressive ideas in our community.
Okay.
Progressive meaning new ideas and new approaches to government.
Okay, well, you're sure you're not trying to usurp the progressive mantle?
I'm not going there.
You've never been one to play tricks with words. But I would say now, it's in all due respect, I would call you, at least during the transit tax debate, I would call it the Whatcom Misinformation Center, because I think you spread information that really wasn't true and probably swayed many voters.
How so? What wasn't true?
Well, your main contention was that the WTA did not have to raise taxes at all, that it had plenty of money in reserves to continue without any service cuts. And obviously that hasn't been the case. And I honestly...
Well, no, we still maintain that's the case. They went into this with a very large surplus. And, this hasn't received a lot of attention, but they're almost even for this year with their sales tax revenue that they've had from the state. As things have turned around, they're essentially they've caught up, and they're running now. They're not running behind. They're close to not running behind. I think the last figure I saw was that they were only $150,000 down. $21 million in reserves, go a long way when you only have to tap in $150,000, or not even that. By the end of the year, we could be in the green.
Well, now, I don't know, and I haven't seen those figures, but that's the only government entity that is talking about that kind of a turnaround financially for tax receipts.
No, that's not the case. I mean, the city of Bellingham, the receipts have turned around with sales tax revenue. Things are climbing out. Next year, the city is projecting, this is from last week, and the city's finance director was looking at a 2% increase in revenue growth next year.
From the hole that we're at. But the mayor, recently put forward a tentative budget that still had a multi-million-dollar hole in it, and he's looking at another 14 positions laid off. And
what's interesting about that, I mean, and this is what the city finance director said, and we can disagree politically and still go have a beer at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. But the city's looking at a 2% increase in revenue growth, but they're looking at a 12% increase in their expenditures, and mostly due to their medical benefits, mm-hmm. that those continue to go up. And our group maintains that the unions, both the WTA in the spring and also the city of Bellingham, the unions need to pay a greater share of their medical benefits. Right now, and this is from the Kaiser Family Foundation. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but they're a very respected nonprofit research organization. And they came in with a report this year that said that average Americans pay about $300 a month for family medical insurance out of pocket. City staff average just about $70.
Well, and I know, and government workers largely do pay less of a percentage, and I've heard it said by even supposedly liberal politicians that they think that in many cases unions could step forward and do more.
Governor Gregoire right now is negotiating with the state unions about increasing their share to 25%. City of Bellingham employees, Sam Taylor at the Herald did an article the other day that City of Bellingham employees pay about 8%. So what I'm saying here is there's at least $2.3 million, $2.27 million in annual savings if the union members paid the same as average families. Now, you could use that money to keep city employees on the job, albeit they might have to pay a little bit more for their medical insurance because, they would have to pay what the rest of us have to pay, but they would save like 20 jobs.
Well, and
I don't understand why the unions are willing to trade, jobs instead of having more fairness.
Well, I think on one hand they're looking at taking a big step back from from the point they've negotiated to, and I'm not making excuses for them. And in many cases, I think they should look at that. Is it right for us to fight for these benefits at the expense of some of our members' jobs? But at the same time, those are negotiations that have to take place. The city can't just impose that on the union, and so we're looking at where in realistic terms, where the mayor has to put together a budget and have it ready to go and in place, and one that can be funded, one that's realistic. And you can't just say, okay, we're going to cut like non-union employees. You just tell them, okay, we're cutting your pay, take it or leave it. And but that can't be done with union employees.
Another thing that and none of this gets covered. Like in the newspaper and stuff. But back in 2006, I was a member of the mayor's budget advisory task force. Mm-hmm. I don't know if people remember that, but there were a group of us appointed by the city council and the mayor, nonpartisan group. Hart Hodges from Western Washington University was on there. Eric Hurst from FutureWise, I was on there. We took a hard look in 2006 at the medical benefits because they're costing so much money. And our recommendation to the city council was that the employees pay the same as average families. But that report was ignored by City Hall. Had they done that back in 2006, fewer employees would have lost their jobs. And this all gets back to the transportation tax, because if we increase the medical benefits, that's $2.3 million in savings. The WTA back in the spring, it was the same type of situation where they paid only $70 a month. We are starting to see the economy turn around, but at the same time, these are real numbers, and I know people are impacted. I certainly, if I were a union member, wouldn't want to pay more for my medical insurance, but that's reality. And the private sector and you and me, we've had to deal with this reality for the past decade.
Yes, but it's not something that's new for me and for many others in the private sector. I mean, because we've walked into our positions, we knew up front what we were going to pay for our benefits, and it has gone up incrementally. But I think you're talking about a lot of families taking a huge hit all of a sudden, and I'm a taxpayer just like everyone else, but I don't feel that I need to run around and say, all right, the city employees take a huge hit in your paycheck just because I'm sick of paying it. But and once again, that is an issue, and I think it's a legitimate issue whether they need to all of a sudden see their health benefits triple. I don't know that that's fair, but I think they could definitely see them maybe perhaps double or see them go up incrementally under a contract. But just to say that this is money that the city could immediately recover, and that would cover the costs of any of these programs or these other positions, I think is kind of unrealistic. Well,
I mean, it would be, they're not even trying. I mean, that's the thing is since 2006, they've had opportunities and they just haven't done so. But I want to get back. The main reason our group is opposed to Proposition 1 and that even people who are predisposed to vote in favor, I hope they take a look at this, because I think streets are important. I think bike lanes are important. But I also think that it's a matter of priorities, and there are other far more important needs right now in our community. Violent assaults are up 41% this year. You've been reading in the paper on KGMI News that, it seems like every day there's someone assaulted downtown. There have been 3 murders this year. And so when you weigh that against bike lanes, I think public safety is paramount. The Bellingham Police Guild, they spoke out publicly against this Proposition 1. They said staffing is critical. They want next year to have a ballot issue before voters that would raise taxes, sales taxes, I think, for enhanced public safety. And they're afraid that if this passes, that voters will be less inclined to vote for that next year.
Well, and I can understand those concerns, but just simply saying more cops on the street, and I have heard this bandied about. We have I don't know, it was 20 fewer police on the street than cities of comparable size, but I never hear it coupled with a discussion of actual crime rates. And you can talk about, you talk about 41%, but we're still not talking about huge numbers. We're not talking about Seattle or San Francisco or Chicago numbers, for that matter. I mean, we're talking about Bellingham numbers, so it doesn't take a lot of incidents to skew the results. And public safety is
not skewing the results. It's actually on their website. You can take a look back, several years. You can go on the website. That's one. What we think is one of the more critical needs that we have. There's a task force coming out real soon with a capital needs report. There was a citizen-appointed task force, and they're going to recommend millions of dollars in new spending on infrastructure. They need to replace a fire station. Library supporters want to build a new facility. They're looking at parks maintenance falling behind. The mayor today talking about diverting some greenways money to pay for maintenance. The city's technology backbone needs improvement. And we have pollution runoff into the lake that hasn't been corrected yet. And when you take all of these needs that are facing us, and then you weigh that against, golly, can we wait to build more bike lanes until the economy improves and sales taxes go back up?
Well, yeah, okay, I get your point. But do you have a few more minutes to stay with us?
Absolutely.
Okay, I got to take a quick break, and then we'll be back with more time with Brett Bonner. He's the spokesman and leader of Whatcom Information Center, the leading group opposed to Bellingham's Proposition 1, a sales tax increase to fund a transportation benefit district. Quick break, and back with more with Brett.